TUC and the Labour Party. I'm not in any party, I'm not affiliated, or just an ordinary working class person, but I feel the Labour Party and the TUC should be, you know, setting a leadership, giving us some kind of call. And when you talk about a general strike, the cuts are so severe, are going to be so extensive with the job losses and the attacks on working class people, that they should be looking at a general strike. We should be following the lead of France, definitely. And when you talk about New Labour, Tony Blair did a lot of damage to the Labour Party. He's never recovered because he took socialism off the agenda. He never wanted it on. The Labour Party don't want it on now with the new leader. And that's the trouble. The party has really betrayed working class people. And I used to be in the Labour Party. I left when Tony Blair elected. You just, you know, there's no lead there anymore. You've got one or two good MPs. I agree with what you said. You've got Dennis Skinner. You've got some really good socialists. But the bulk of them are just a cuckoo land. When you've got a Labour leader who talks about, well, he's on television, I don't believe in strike action. What do you do if you're losing your job? That's the only thing you've got is strike action. And the Labour Party, I mean, you know, I'm sorry, but they're in cuckoo land. Some of them in the TUC are in cuckoo land. We need leadership, and I agree with what you said. So,
Dear Draycott, I'm the chair for the Halifax Labour Party. Just want to make a few general points and maybe come back to the points that the speaker made. I think what we are experiencing is a very broad attack. Somebody talked about attack on the working class, but it's a big swathe of the population. We're talking about the working class and the middle class. When you're talking about the attacks on tuition fees, and it's talking about changing the very nature of our society, it's an attack on our democracy. The situation with tuition fees, because it means that fewer working class kids, fewer people from ordinary middle class backgrounds will be able to go to university, and it will change the nature of our society. So we do have a big fight on that. I would echo some of the comments that have just been made earlier about the need for unity, and I'm pleased to say there is already an existing coalition, a trade union coalition, so I'm glad to see that their petition is actually being circulated this evening, because we do need unity. We also need to look carefully, and maybe it's not the time or place for a big debate about it, but the sort of demands that you can put on the council, because I think the cutbacks are coming from central government, from the Tory Liberal central government. And I was around in the 80s. You can say I'm old enough to have experienced the 1980s. I do remember rate capping. And the simple fact is, refusal to set rates, etc., which is what you get into. Refusal to set rates means personal bankruptcy for councillors, means jail, it means central government sending in teams to run local authorities. I think we're going to have to, people need to work through exactly what sort of demands we're making. Certainly we should be demanding of central government that they do look to make up the shortfall. And just to respond to some of the responses of the last speaker, the last Labour government did a lot of stuff that I disagree with, did a lot of stuff that I do agree with. The fact of the matter is, the mantra that's being repeated again and again by Liberal and Tory politicians is that the mess we're in, the deficit that we've got, is a result of Labour's profligacy on public spending. And that is a complete lie, and that is a lie that everybody should be talking about, because we're in this mess because of the greed of international bankers. That's why we're in the mess. And Gordon Brown, God bless him, quantitative easing was mentioned. Now the fact is, it's the 1920s Weimar. They were facing hyperinflation, we were facing deflation. Without quantitative easing, we might have shot below zero. You know, we might actually be in a deflationary spiral that Japan hit in the 1990s. Gordon Brown and the Labour government did not let the banks go to the wall. Not to save the bankers, but to save the lives, the working lives and the homes of ordinary working people that would have been lost if those banks had gone to the wall. So I think we have to remember, I mean, just on that, it's near my final point. I think we have to remember that we're not fighting a Labour government here as well. You know, these are the things that have been done. We're fighting a Tory Liberal government that is out, and I think a couple of speakers have mentioned it, to change the nature of the state. It isn't about the deficit, and what we've got to be prepared to do is hang in, because it may not take one demonstration or two. But Cameron, Clegg, are not Margaret Thatcher. Thatcher, I despised her politics, but she had a spine of pure steel. these people have got porcelain spines. You can see the way they're jumping around, you know. And what we've got to do is keep coming back and again until they crack.
Very briefly, Alice has mentioned direct action. Kevin has mentioned Boots and a few other national firms. We started in Hebden Bridge on Wednesday of this last week. Last Wednesday, we had a demonstration outside Boots with placards, just pointing out how much money they are taking out of our economy and putting into Swiss banks. This campaign against Boots is going to continue in Hebden Bridge, so 9 o'clock, Wednesday mornings, come along.
Peter Robson, Unison and the Halifax Socialist Party, and may be aware of the campaign. It's great to see the students here tonight, and I think another round of applause for the protest they're giving at the moment.
Yeah, thank you.
These demonstrations, we've been through to Leeds to support the occupation in Leeds. At Calderdale College on this Thursday, if people can come along, students are coming out on the demonstration. They're also meeting us from the schools and feeder demonstrations in Halifax this Thursday, and it's been rightly pointed out by the comrade from the NUT that it's been pushed forward by the students at the moment. But can I just lay one myth to rest tonight? The Labour Party totally abandoned the working class. Totally abandoned the working class. With all due respect to my friend from the North East, Mandelson was very comfortable with debt. Very comfortable with debt, and he continued to be very comfortable with debt. And this is the reason we're in this situation. Labour cannot negate themselves from any responsibility, and they will try and do this. The problem with the Labour Party is it was invaded by capitalists, and it was consistently invaded by capitalists, and this is what we see now. So there is an alternative on the left, and we do have to have unity. And what I would say was, with all due respect to Sue, we do need to stand some anti-cuts campaigners and councillors, because that is the only way we will have legitimacy by doing that. Thank you.
I understand what you're saying, but the more time we spend knocking spots off each other, the less time we'll spend putting together an anti-cuts coalition.
Absolutely.
Well, that's where I want to come in and say, because as a young man I actually grew up under a Labour government, and remember them bringing in top-up fees, which you said they wouldn't, but they did, bringing in illegal laws. So why in my lifetime would I ever consider voting Labour? I just want to put that across. But that aside, we need unity. We all need to work together no matter what party you're with. You know, probably not Tory, but because if we don't do it, then who will? And to inspire young people as well in future generations. Because when I grew up, I saw the Labour Party bringing in things that no one fought against. People tried, but they didn't really do very much. Direct action needs to be taken to inspire younger people for future generations, and that's why I'm in the Socialist Party, because I'm a socialist, and that's why I'll never join the Labour Party. And we need to stand candidates against people who are against cuts, because if Labour are bringing in cuts, who are you going to stand against them? You're going to have to make a fight and make a stand. And I hope that out of this meeting tonight, I will work with people in Labour, because we've got to work together, otherwise we'll never succeed. And tonight I'd like to see people coming together and actually forming a group in Halifax that will fight the cuts, and I think that we should all consider what we can do to fight them together.